What is up, everybody? David Thule here. This is week number 3 of the Getting Started in Open Exploration series. What we're going to talk about this week is dealing with relationships and data in different tables within QGIS. So later on in the course, we'll look at how to set up an SQL database so that all of your data is relational. But in this case, we're just going to do it within QGIS. So an application would basically be, we've got well spots, right? And what if we want to connect with it some other geologic information? In this case, we'll be using mud weights that we've read off mud logs and recorded in a data set. But you can do the same thing for things like production data, geochemistry data, pretty much anything that you want to record and tie back to that well spot API. So let's roll the intro and I'll get it going for you. Okay, just like in previous weeks, I'm going to be working over here on the desktop and talking to you on the camera here. And what we're going to do is just a very simple process in QGIS, which is create a relationship. So we actually have multiple ways to handle relating like one table or shapefile to another table or shapefile in GIS and QGIS. We can create a join, which is basically pulling data from one table into another table. And this can be really valuable and powerful if you want all your data centralized into one place. But QGIS has a really nice feature which is called add a relationship. And those relationships allow one table to reference another table without migrating any data. And we can then explore that data by looking at, in QGIS, what's called a form. So let me show you how that works. So over here on our project, I've just reloaded the Powder River Basin that we've been working with. And I have a file that I've created annotations. So I went through a bunch of mud logs and I noted down the API for the mud log as well as the mud weight and the formation in which that mud weight was created. There are lots of different ways to do this. I just went through manually for most of these, and I picked the mud weight within the formation wherever possible. That gives you kind of the best record. When there wasn't a mud weight recorded like within a sandstone, a permeable layer, I just took the overall mud weight. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good indicator of subsurface pressure. So I have this Excel file, and all I'm going to do is drag it over here into my layers browser within QGIS. So it's just going to copy it over. And again, this is the power of QGIS, which is it lets you have a table without any location. If we click back on this and look at the preview, there's API number, but there's no lat long. Now I could have made a file with the lat long in there, but I don't have to. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up here to the project menu. I'm going to click on properties. And I'm going to end up at this place called relations. And within here, I want to add a relation. So I'm going to click this button here that says add a relation. And we want to name it. I'm going to name it, and it should be like descriptive, and the name should be something that's human readable because you want to know what the relationships are. So in this case, I'm going to name it PRBWH, which is my well header file, my well spots, dash mud weight. You can use anything that's kind of human readable. They can be pretty long. It doesn't really matter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the referenced layer. So this is like the parent layer. It's the thing that has the information that you want it to go to. So in this case, I'm going to come down and I'm going to pick my symbolized PRB well header, which are the well spots that we have on the map and we created during week 2. And the referencing layer, which is this mud weight layer, this is, it's called the child, right? So it's the attributes we want to put to the other one. And then we have to pick the fields that we want to use as the key fields. So this is what tells the database structure the relationship. If you remember, we created ULI fields in the well header spots, which we talked about last week. And so we want to relate that ULI to what I've called API in my mudweight file. I did a bad thing. I should have a ULI field too, because that makes it really easy to keep track of your relationships. But in this case, it's a simple project, and I know that API in my mudweight file matches my ULI in my well header file. It will generate an ID automatically, which is like a unique identifier for that relationship. If we have a complex scenario, we can actually click this plus button here in order to make a composite foreign key, which is like if you have to use multiple fields in order to identify a unique record. There are lots of reasons to use it. We'll probably cover it some later in the course. But at this point, I'm just going to leave the relationship strength as association. That just means that between the two, there's the relationship, but it's not forced. So like if I duplicate or do things to my well header symbology, I'm not forcing a duplicate of the child feature to be created. You can read more about that by clicking the help button. Their documentation's really good. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to click apply. I'm going to click OK again. And when we go in and open up the attribute table for the well header, the symbolized well spots, what you're going to see is by default we end up in this table view. And it's going to look like nothing's different. You know, if I scroll all the way over to the right, the table ends in ULI and ULI2 just like it did before. But here's where the power and the magic happens. If I click in the bottom right hand corner where it says switch to table view, which is what I'm in now, I'm going to click switch to form view. And in doing that, I can scroll down, and what I'm going to see is the relationship to mudweight. So this little toggle drop-down field here now contains mudweight values. So let me prove it to you. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just select an API number that I know has a mudweight, and I'm going to filter just on this field filter here, and I'm going to put it in ULI, and I'm going to type it in down here, and it's going to return only one record. But what you can see is that this one record for the porcupine well, there are multiple records in the PRB mudweight relationship, and you can see it here. So it's a little confusing in this view, but if I change this little form over here to the table view, what you'll see now is that the API number and the mudweight are recorded for a number of formations. So now I have this all here in a table that has all the information, but this is kind of hard to read, right? There's a ton of stuff in here in the original field. So let me show you how to edit that so this is easier to deal with. So I'm going to right click again on the layer, and I'm going to go to the properties, and I'm going to select attributes form. And right now it's set at the top here to auto generate. And that just means it's going to take like every field and dump it into the form view that you see in the system. And so I don't want that. I'm going to choose the drag and drop designer, which gives me a way to basically pick and choose which fields are shown in each file. So API number, I probably want to keep that. Company, keep that. Well name, you know, a lot of this stuff. But maybe I don't care about certain other attributes that I don't care if I have to see them. Maybe quarter I don't want to look at. Okay, that's cool. I can take that out. Footage, you may want to see it, but maybe for this case you don't want to see it. So I'm gonna choose footage, and I'm gonna hit the minus sign, and it's just moving it out of the layout. So let me just make an extreme change, and you can see what happens here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and remove a ton of fields, and I'm gonna choose apply. I'm gonna choose OK, and I will go back in QGIS to this field. So I'm going to open the attribute table, And what you're going to see now is that again, if I choose field filter and I put it in down here and I choose enter, I'm going to get my single record, and I'm going to choose form view, and I've got way less forms here, or way less fields. You can see I've just got a few items. But what I need to do now is go back into that form and put in the reference table. So I have this thing on the left here called widgets, and you can see under relations I have another set of fields, and so I'm actually going to drag that over, and now I have that relationship and data in there, and I'm going to choose apply, and I'm going to pick this back up, choose OK. And you'll see now here it is at the bottom, and I don't have to wade through 50 features from my well headers table in order to look at and deal with my mud weight. So here's an interesting thing that you might do with this is you might be going through paper copies of logs or just digital images of them, and you want to create a data set. So we can actually edit this right in here. So if I click this pencil and I'm at this API number, I can actually start creating new records just by filling them in and typing in here in order to create records. So, that it's a really good way to control data entry, because I can specify that I only want certain fields to be populated certain ways, all types of things. And we'll show more about that in future episodes. But the forms and relationships within QGIS really allow you to do almost like database management and data creation that has really powerful controls that keep you from making mistakes. So that's it for today. If you like these videos, I hope you'll go over to YouTube and follow the channel. Once we get to like 100 subscribers, we can change our URL, so it'll end up being youtube.com/geolumina, and that'll be sweet because it'll make everybody's lives easier to find the videos. If you're liking this content and you want to think about supporting it, please follow the link either on YouTube or here on LinkedIn. Subscribership starts at $1 a month, $12 a year. I think you're probably getting your value out of that. $10 a year, for the number of people that follow these videos. $10 a year would be astronomical and allow us to create a ton of free content for everybody to enjoy. So thanks for following along. Don't forget to post your maps or interesting things that you're working on in the comments section, and can't wait to see you next week.